Ki khubor ka bate si TV. Rakhe ka Frank Yamaha khatn reus nem ya ka jing shakri ka jongka. Baden ais ngo bha sha baro kinong thi thuk thuk. Ringkat ka kabuk ser ban long kinong job ya santali ki laptop. Kani ka offer kan kot ha ka live hoteri unai lur 8000 pusau.
Kum Shibun ban Kyntiew ya Jylla hagbon kiliang bat khamtam hagroi kapar ka Sorkar Jylla hapo ka jingalam Menteri ramba ka Jylla mentakasngi klai potrik unailur klashong jingalang bagi dekhot jeng 16 Finance Commission. Ya kini jingalang lapilong kot yat by Marriott Shillong hagablawan bandon lang bagi bon ki officer Sorkar banyikran ban pinsngau halo ka jingdon kam ban Kyntiew ya Jylla. Harga negara kenduk ke Sorkar ke IT dengan Dorkhas Chairperson ke 16 Finance Commission Dr. Arvind Panagaria. Habukren Shiklat Pathai Kubo Dr. Arvind Panagaria oleh Thu Bu Menteri Ramba ke Jylla ukon rakyat sangma haba ai ke presentation ulah kedoi ke bon ke benta ba ke Sorkar ke kuaban Kyntiew ya ke Jylla kum kam jungok kai perthen lor ki wepan. Shushu Dr. Arvind oleh Thu bana pedeng ki arba pratli ke Jylla jongkari India ke commission tidak banyu kejat hagi pratli ke Jylla badna ke negara kenduk ladan pratli ki bila dawa ban Kyntiew no ya ke bahak mang tingkat basa pui person syakasan pau person.
So we had a very good meeting this morning. The state gave a fantastic presentation on Meghalaya, to which I'll come. But a very unique feature of this presentation was that your Chief Minister, being who he is, he made lots of interventions during the presentation. So he was very, very engaged. One could see the passion and engagement that he has with the state's development. We are all very impressed with what we saw. The presentation itself was very extensive. It covered numerous programs relating to the demography, geography, tourism, whatnot. One of the very impressive things that they presented had to do with the how the state has very dramatically brought down the maternal mortality rate. There is a program under which and apparently the state has the record of every single pregnant woman in the state, and then they follow and then they have that data by first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, birth, whatnot. So very, very impressive. Likewise, the program on early childhood development, where unlike other states where in the sports etc. the kids get picked up at a later age of 15 or 16, here Meghalaya is doing this at much earlier age. So number of these things, issues related to water supply, hotels, colleges being built, skill and entrepreneurship, overseas placements, nurses in even the program under which the state is now training nurses who then get employed in places like Japan. So it was a very extensive presentation. It eventually also naturally went into the issues of finances, which is what the Finance Commission is more directly interested in. So we also got a fair bit of details on what the financial condition of the state is, what the debt to GDP ratio is, why the debt to GDP ratio is a bit on the high side, what have been the fiscal deficits, and again, why fiscal deficits have been on the high side. Then finally, the presentation came to another very important aspect of the presentation was a discussion of the Mission 10, under which the state has a very ambitious plan, both of programs that it wants to undertake and the commitments it has to the people of Meghalaya. The state is targeting to take the GDP to $10 billion by 2028, which would bring its per capita income to close to about $3,000, which is quite good. So on the finance, in the end, on the main subject for the Finance Commission, of course, is the devolution, and on that the state's speech was that the vertical devolution to the states from the divisible pool be increased from the current 41% to 50%, and this is of course a figure we have been hearing in state after state. There is somehow across states seems to be some consensus that this devolution ought to rise from 41 to 50%. Normally, of course, the finance commissions don't really increase change the shares that dramatically, but in any case, for us, it's an early stage of work, and so we don't know where that is going to go. On horizontal devolution, where the mandate is how the state share is to be divided among the 28 states of India. The state had some very specific suggestions, and in particular, the state pitched for larger proportion of the state's share to be devolved based on forest. 15th Finance Commission had given a weight of 10% to forest and ecology. Meghalaya's proposals for the 16th are that we raise that from 10 to 15%. They also suggested introducing a new criterion called the rural dispersion of the population, to which they said 2.5 to 5% weight be given. So if one were to do that, then this will be a new criterion, because rural dispersion has not been a criterion in the past for any finance commission. Then there was also a suggestion that the quality of expenditure be given some consideration. For that, they suggested 2.5% weight on that. That was the main deviation they suggested. Income distance, they said, keep at 45%, which is what it was under the 15th Finance Commission. So that is where the broad picture is. Then there was some discussion on the local bodies as well as the disaster relief and disaster management. That was our discussion. Then the commission spoke back and responded as well as asked for some more additional information, to which again the Chief Minister himself gave a number of replies. So that is overall where our discussions were. The commission itself currently is very much in a stage of consultation with the states and other stakeholders, but states consultation with the states is the major activity of the commission right now. Meghalaya was our 8th state to visit. We have visited 7 others. So last one we visited was Assam in the neighborhood. So we have done about quarter of the total 28 states. So it's still early in the game. We have to listen to all the states. So we have gone to states in the north and west. We have gone to states in northeast. We have gone to states in the south. And naturally, these states have very different geography, demography, and needs. And so therefore, we have naturally heard very different viewpoints regarding particularly the horizontal devolution of the divisible pool or horizontal devolution of the state's share. Southern states in particular had a very different view on this. So at this point, we have no decisions with respect to where the commission is ultimately going to come out. That is something that we will deal with much later after we have consulted with all the other states. So naturally, the Meghalaya depends very heavily on central transfers, which are coming both from the Finance Commission, but also from the center. Non-FC transfers are also quite large. If you look at it, the debt to GDP ratio is rather high. and so also the fiscal deficit is high. Now, part of it is explained away by the fact that the state has been making good use of the long-term capital grants that it's being given as a loan, 50-year loan, which obviously has an incredible, and it's an interest-free loan for 50 years. So it's almost like a grant, but it's not quite a grant. And therefore it has to be actually taken into the debt to GDP ratio. It goes in there. So it gets a little bit overstated because of that, but still I think I would say it is a bit on the high side. No. So 3.8% is not so far high, but when I said that it's on the high side, it also included actually the deficit that results from the capital grant that's is a sort of loan also. Formally, it is called a loan because that is the form. It's a 50-year loan, but it is a very large grant element in it. But in that accounts, it goes. It counts as a borrowing, and that is what raises the fiscal deficit number. And once you include that, it's closer to 5.5%. Not 3.8. No, it's a loan. Therefore, accounting-wise, accounting-wise, it will go in as borrowing. So now remember that the centrally sponsored schemes are central program. Those are central programs, central government's programs. Those are not FC programs. The Finance Commission, what its job is to take the divisible pool of central tax revenues and make recommendations on how those revenues for a 5-year period, which will start for this commission from 26-27, should be divided first between the central government and all the 28 states taken together. For the 15th commission, that was 41% for the states and 59% for the central government, right? So that's the vertical devolution. And then how is this share of the states to be divided among the 28 states? That is what the Finance Commission does. That's what I discussed earlier when I mentioned about the criteria that the state suggested. For example, they suggested that geographical dispersion of population should also receive a weight of 2.5 to 5% in the devolution. That was part of the horizontal devolution.
So will the...
Yeah. No. It is only Meghalaya is only one of the 28 states. So we'll listen to all 28 states, but we also listen to the other stakeholders. We'll also listen to the central government. Obviously, central government is a major stakeholder in the process as well. But we also, like for example, in the month of April, we had come to in fact Shillong to consult with the economists and policy analysts of the Northeast. So this was a meeting organized at the Nehru, the university here. So that was an example. So similarly we went to Vizag to do the consultation with the other stakeholders in the south, in Jaipur for western, Rajgir for eastern, and in Delhi for the northern. So we also have done 5 regional consultations. Those also are considered. We take from all citizens, so our website invites all citizens to give any suggestions that they would like to make to the Commission. So it's a very wide-ranging consultation that the Commission carries out. That's realistic. It's attainable. It requires hard work, and it requires continuing with the policy reforms that the state can do, state should do. But it's a doable. It's an achievable
We are
target.
very poor in health, education, major infrastructure sectors.
Now you are asking me, the goal, right? Goal is from here to there. So wherever you are, from there to getting to $10 billion is an achievable goal. We have gone to, this is the 8th state, and we have heard 8th time for the increase from 41% to 50%, the vertical devolution. Normally, the commissions in the past have never taken a very large jump. 41 to 50 is an incredibly large jump. There are only two examples. The 7th Commission had done that, and then the 14th had done that. But general philosophy that the commissions have followed is that you should not disturb the status quo by excessively large amount, because that then disturbs the budgets of everybody. Even those who benefit can't absorb it fast enough, but those who lose on account of such a large, meaning it's a central government, for the central government, then it creates a very large imbalance very suddenly. And that leads the central government to, of course, react and respond. To the 14th, the way the central government then responded was over time, the share of cesses and surcharges which do not go into the divisible pool expended. Also the CSS, the centrally sponsored schemes, expenditures on CSS as a proportion of the gross tax revenue declined over time. So it leads to unintended consequences, and so generally finance commissions have gone, particularly with respect to the vertical devolution, moved only slowly. They changed the status quo only a little bit, incrementally. And same also goes for horizontal. Generally, horizontal devolution also, changes do happen, but they are generally incremental. Very rarely these changes become step jumps. Well, I mentioned to you, right, on the horizontal devolution and vertical devolution, and then there were also some demands regarding grants in aid, which are separate. You know, the grants in aid come from the consolidated fund of the central government. So those are tricky, because currently, after the 14th Finance Commission, the devolution out of the central tax revenues is extremely large. So the central government, in a way, exercises its discretion whether it's from out of its own consolidated fund of India, whether it's going to further give grants according to the recommendations of the Finance Commission or not. So in any case, there's a very large set of proposals given by the Meghalaya government. Altogether, what, 1 lakh something, right? 1 lakh crore,
1.2. Yes.
1.2 lakh crore rupees worth of grants in aid request
Over the 5 years.
Over the 5-year period have been made by the Meghalaya government. Roughly, what the target is for 2028 translates into a per capita income close to, a little below, so about $2,900 is the target. So multiply that by 3.5 or 34 lakh population, that will give you the GSDP target. All right, so we are having some issue here whether it was 1 billion or 10 billion, but what I did do was to calculate it very quickly what per capita income target was, and that's close to about $2,900 per capita per year, per capita GSDP. So multiply that by 34 lakh to get your GSDP target.